We're back.
It's been just a couple days, right?
Yeah, it's like 3 days later. It's totally not freezing cold now.
Right. We haven't changed seasons. That would be crazy.
And this is not a different camera.
No, it's the same camera. You've changed.
That's it. That's you. You have changed, not us. We would never change. So
We
welcome
really
back to
do,
the
yeah.
Sterling.
So what's happened in the meantime?
Tell them about Josh.
So we are not exactly Sterling experts, but what was great is that after releasing the last episode, we were contacted by a viewer that is a Sterling expert. And he has been building his Sterling for 20 plus years. Is it more than that?
Yeah, it's like 20 years, and he's rebuilt it several times.
Right. So he's gone through many iterations, and now he's going to like sort of full race prep situation. So it's a totally different ball game.
So Josh has been doing it for 20 years, and he's had several iterations. His last iteration before the current iteration, he actually didn't complete, which is he was trying to make it just a good car, which is exactly our goal.
Right. We're trying to make a very functional car that feels modern, which is pretty much the opposite of an old Volkswagen Bug.
Right. His current iteration is insane. Like it's a roll cage. He's building his whole chassis from the ground up. He built a little computer display that's a touchscreen that looks like his car on the touchscreen, so he can use a vector graphic to adjust the suspension. But what he had for us was his entire last build's worth of equipment, which we just purchased as a big lot.
That means that we have a lot of exciting parts to install in the car, and we can get to the next stages of figuring out what we don't know.
Right. So right now what we have is like stuff, including windows.
Did the windows arrive?
No.
But they're coming.
They're coming. He found windows for us, which we didn't know how we were going to do that. He also got us an engine cover, the dashboard.
The dashboard.
We don't have to build a dashboard.
That is great. But then what did you pick up?
Oh, I picked up an 86 Corvette gauge cluster. You know, the fancy one. Picture here.
Right, the all-digital gauge cluster. Now, not all Corvettes got this.
Yeah.
Only the guys that went for that
Premium
package got it. Frequently they don't work, but this one's been completely rebuilt.
It's completely rebuilt, and we found a Corvette customization company that'll send us a kit so we can match all the lighting in that gauge cluster to the color scheme of the car. So we can literally give it a purple color scheme for our purple car.
We also got brakes from J-Bugs.
Yeah, we picked up a set of brakes, front and back, all discs. We have a full suspension system that's like already calibrated for this car. We got a lot of stuff back here, and we're probably gonna order tires and rims after we're done with this.
I think our goals for this episode are we're gonna try to get suspension set up. We're gonna get those brakes installed, and we can revisit our fuel system, see if we can make any progress on.
He also got us a radiator.
I know we got a radiator. Oh yeah.
All right, well, I think we should get going and get started. Hopefully this intro comes out. Oh yeah, just real quick, see what Alex did to me the moment I arrived?
Okay, normally when my guests arrive, they're not carrying a pot of boiling water immediately upon entering, so when I turn around and bump into them, they burn their entire hand.
Yeah, so we had to start this whole thing with me going to the pharmacy to get burn cream. I'm not dead yet.
Okay. Hey. The first thing we needed to do was get rid of the nasty swing arm suspension. We had acquired an entirely new front end with new steering box and coilovers to replace the swing arms, as well as polyurethane bushings. So we got to work right away on installing that. Alright, so now we're going to go get the new suspension. It doesn't have any spindles on it and doesn't have any brakes, which will mean it'll be lighter. It's a good situation here for us weak old men. We're going to pull it up over here and we're going to put those 4 bolts in it. Then we can start adding components to that.
Sounds good.
here we are with our new front suspension, new to us. Although these coilovers are new and they're a pretty cool setup. We've changed from an internal spring inside of this front bar to an external spring with an adjustable height. We have no spindles on here, we have no brakes, and we have boxes of brake parts over here. So we need to open all those boxes and see what parts come in the new brake kit and what parts we still have to take off the old front bar. So I guess we'll just get to opening these boxes and hope that they sent us everything. Okay, actually roll back a little bit. I want to give you guys all a life lesson. It's a very important one that I'm still always learning. If a car part isn't rare, don't order it months before you're going to open the boxes, because basically what ends up happening is you open these and then it's like a year after you bought them, and you're like, hey, you didn't send me the right thing, and they're like, how come you never told us till now? And you're like, I didn't even know, because I can't get to my project ever. Anyway, buy your stuff when you're going to install it. Open it as soon as you get it. Don't do what we're doing. I mean, we're doing awesome.
Hey guys, it's getting late. We're getting tired. I'll do a quick show here of what we've done, but we're out of energy. But it looks like we got most of the front suspension on. So 1 second. Surprise, Alex!
Hey, this front bar and this new suspension is mostly on. We got the spindles out of the old front bar. We made it look extremely easy off camera, because it was. Nothing was stuck, for sure. That's why it's not so late. I'm exhausted at this point. We have a couple minor issues where right now our big tie rod ends don't fit into our spindles. I don't know if that means we need a spindle with a bigger hole, or if we can just drill out this hole, or if we need to use smaller tie rod ends. We're going to find that out before tomorrow morning, and then we're going to assemble the brakes and figure out what's going on with those tie rod ends. But everything's pretty much going smoothly. I think it's going to be a very, very unique chassis. Well, we just left our Always VDub, our local VW supply. And what they do, they hooked us up with a lot of parts, huh, Travis?
Yeah, we got the spindles we need, the correct spindles for the front end, and then a bunch of seals. We got everything we needed locally at this wonderful place called Always VDub here in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Really just moved us forward quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, everything you thought that we'd have to special order was just sitting on the shelf. So that was cool.
Yeah. Well, normally you can't get parts for 50-year-old cars locally.
He's like, hey, oh yeah, I got one of those. Oh yeah, I got one of those. Yeah,
well, we'll be back at the shop, guys. Oh, jeez. They look so good. That's crazy. It smells good.
It smells super deluxe.
Dude, okay, like if you look at this burger, you think, is this a model of a burger? No. This is a burger I actually have received. It's not a smashed bun. I'm gonna have to smash the bun down, like myself.
The burger sauce is good.
Oh, I need the burger. Oh,
that's real bacon.
Did they give us an option?
Back with them.
Oh my, what? They're prepared? I'm just looking for reasons to be like, oh, they didn't do a perfect job. I haven't found any. Yeah. Once we got back to the shop, we had our spindles, and it was time to put new bearings into the rotors. So we used our bearing packer, and we filled them all with fresh grease, and then inserted them into the brake rotors, which fit directly on the new spindles. We also took the time to bang in a new dust seal with the hope to ensure long life to all these new components. We had to pound new races into the fresh rotors and then pack the bearings on the other side as well. After we tightened the spindle nut and had the brake rotor installed, we put on the new calipers as well as attached the tie rod ends, and the suspension was looking pretty complete. I then started focusing on the master cylinder and the brake lines attaching it. I had to add a lot of heat to try to avoid stripping them, and then I was ratcheting out the long bolts to get the old master cylinder out. The plunger that pushes in the master cylinder had to be cleaned up as it was covered in rust as well before the new one was installed. We replaced all the soft lines, and we eventually had to replace all the hard lines on the car, even the ones we thought might be good. Well guys, we have done a bunch of stuff to this front end, and the front end swap has been really satisfying. The things that have ended up happening are that we've got a whole new front bar on here, and we have put caster shims in it so that when you're driving down the freeway, a little bit of caster will help pull the wheels straight, as well as we've upgraded our drums to a full disc kit with all new components and new lines. And Travis was able to find this reservoir here, and we got that installed. So now we have literally everything we need for those for the front brake system for the first time. And this front end, for all intents and purposes, is now complete. So we've been working on the rear, had some troubles with that, but we've even figured out most of our issues with the rear, and we just are moving steadily along. One of the first issues that we had with the rear was that there was no way to get the rear axle nuts off. They were literally rested solid to the axles. Our solution ended up being was to use a Dremel to actually cut the nut in half and then use a big breaker bar and the correct 36 millimeter socket. Day 2, box 3. Box 3? This is the box that should have all the instructions for the rear brakes. I've opened one side of the rear brake boxes that don't seem to have instructions. Instructions would be great. So, I assume they're in box 1 of 2, and I don't know why I opened the second box first. But anyway, see what they've got to convert the drums to disc here. Since Travis cleaned up the floor, I figured I'd put some more stuff on it. Ooh, that's cool. These look like new e-brake cables. Installation instruction. It's a rotor. Can you believe it, guys? Removing rusty parts sometimes takes longer than installing and figuring out how to install new parts. So I feel like we're way ahead of the game here. All right, well, I'll catch you guys in a minute, and we'll see where we're. Do you know how to do this?
Nope.
Step 1. Jack up vehicle. Well.
Hey Rose, I'm Rose, but from the future. Whoa, me from the future? So what's the future like? Do we ever get like hover cars, or like do we figure out global warming? Does My Chemical Romance ever make it back on tour? Whoa, that is way too many questions right now. All I can tell you is that you definitely will get to see My Chemical Romance in the future. But there's something much more important I need to relay to you right now. In a future nearer to you than my own, your husband, Alex Lightspeed, is going to release an album with Rosa Corsa Records. And it's going to change the world, my dude. But I think it's super important that for anybody who could possibly be hearing this conversation right now, that they know that they can go to the Lightspeed Fieros Etsy shop and buy signed copies of Alex Lightspeed's Crimson Sunset on CD-ROM. Wow, well thanks, future me. Do you think I can get one of those copies? Well, you know, I would give you one of these, but unfortunately that interferes with the intergalactic law of time travel. And if I do that, this record might actually never get made. So I'm gonna have to keep these for myself. You'll get one in the future though. Alright you guys, so all silliness aside, you guys keep asking where you guys can hear Alex Lightspeed's Crimson Sunset. And the only good news I have is that if you guys go to the link in the description below, you guys can go and purchase one of these copies. There's going to be 20 of them. They're signed copies, signed by Alex Lightspeed, which is pretty cool, if you ask me. And make sure that you guys are looking out for any information on the release with Rosa Corsa. You guys can go ahead and buy the LP later this year. Wait for the updates. We love you guys. I'll be back in some videos soon. Don't worry about that. Love you. Bye.
All right, so it's the morning of day 3. All of us people over 30 are old and tired and sore, but we carry on. We bought a special flare nut wrench that's 11 millimeters because in all my years I've never used an 11 millimeter flare nut wrench, but apparently that's what this chassis needs. The flare nut wrench doesn't fit on this line, so I mean it fits if this nipple wasn't in the way. Since this is all going to be trash right here, I'm going to cut it off with my Dremel, and then I will be able to get the flare nut wrench on here, and hopefully the line will come off without breaking. If it does break, then we just replace it like the other ones. So it shouldn't be a big deal. Well, we got back to the rear, and then we had just a tremendous amount of problems, which you've already seen. We had to cut off this rear nut, and we had to, I used a Dremel to slice the nut and then pop it off. And then we were left without a rear castle nut, and the kit doesn't come with one. So we had to go all the way to Kelso to Avery's Air Cooled to go get some rear nuts and some brake lines, because we had used the brake lines for the kit for the rear for the front, mistakenly thinking we had 4 brake lines, but apparently we only had 2. Now, of course, we have 4. Avery's Air Cooled came in clutch with that, and we were really happy with them. They got us all the things we needed to complete this today. So now this brake side is totally done, other than the e-brake caliper with the freshly repacked bearing. We will be replacing our torsion springs with a uniball setup, and then putting coilovers on the rear, which is the recommended way to remove the torsion bars in this rear independent suspension, late bug chassis. So we've had another session, Travis. I feel like this has gone really well. We've made a lot of progress. How are you feeling about the project right now?
I'm just really excited to see the pans out because they look terrible. Like everything else looks so cool, and
yeah.
the pans look terrible. So yeah, other than that, no, these brakes look insane.
Yeah, they're exactly what you're gonna want. You know, even though these are not the biggest discs anybody's ever seen, they're also stopping a car that's literally half the weight of probably any car most of these people are driving every day.
I feel like we're really close to having a full car. We
got cooling system stuff from Josh as well.
Oh yeah.
We could potentially mount the cooling system to this and move this chassis around under its own power, if we sat on a bucket or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something very dangerous, I'm sure.
Should be great.
Yeah.
All the companies that helped us today, was it?
Always VDub in Portland, Oregon.
And what was the other one?
Avery's Air Cooled in Kelso.
Yeah, those guys were awesome, and we couldn't have done it without them. So yeah, I'm super excited.
It's great progress. Oh, you licensed the car. We forgot about that.
Oh, the car's all licensed. I own it legally now.
They asked us for some money, and they took care of it.
They took a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Seems like my credit card swipes a lot.
That's that car building feeling you're getting right inside you. We got wheels on the car. Very achieved.
We should cut these cans out before I leave today.
Me too.
That's not relevant right now. What are we doing today? Not that.
Oh, hey, we have tires on the car and it rolls really easy for the first time.
Everything's not locked up for the first time. It looks good. I'm really actually excited about how good it looks. We got some rust because we're in the Pacific Northwest, so all those brand new parts already look rusty again. What else did we do? Oh, I forgot. All right, I'll let you explain what these are.
Okay.
Because I don't know what they are.
So what these are is we're putting coilovers on. So this is a device that allows us to remove the torque bar that is in front of the axle. They go here, and there's a big twisted spring that goes through this, and we're removing that, and these just free float, and the spring is replaced by the coilover that's going to go right here. So, like in the front. We're going to need to paint these. But let's explore. Travis took care of disassembling the uniballs and painting each piece and then reassembling them so they wouldn't rust because they were in bare metal when we got them. We have the new clutch arm installed, the updated throw-up bearing. It rides on this center shaft here, and that prevents the throw-up bearing from flopping off like it did before. And we've upgraded this bracing here so that we can do chromoly triangular mounts between the strut towers, which you'll see later, and we replaced the rubber motor mounts on that. So we're real close to putting the engine back on for the final time. It'll be cool.
We also ran new brake lines all the way through, and we have brake pressure for the first time.
Oh yeah, feel some braking. I feel like that can stop us. Woo.
So we got all that done. So we're looking really good today. We're hoping to get the engine back on and the uniballs on today. And we're really lucky to get the rest of the mount brackets for the transmission before I go.
Here we got the torque bar removed and we're cleaning up, getting ready to install the uniballs in the axle tube. I mean, it is coming apart. Mostly, I haven't been breaking bolts off.
We broke a thing on it, remember?
What thing?
Your old breaker bar broke on it. And two nuts.
We had to cut the nut out, yeah. Yeah, it looks good. Look, it looks like we, yeah, we definitely did something here.
Look at that. Just look at it.
There's a brake clamp. We ended up putting rust protection coating all over the rusty control arms before we installed the uniballs. Then we put the coilovers in and inserted the newly painted uniballs in torque spring used to be located. What are you doing, Lance?
Getting this fuel line ready for the Sterling Nova project.
Back in the Sterling Nova, gonna do some AN lines to a fuel cell. So that should be exciting with an external fuel pump. Yeah. Woo! The things that slow me down on these projects, like missing little Dremel cut-off wheels. I'm like, oh no, I'd have to go to the store to get that. I guess I won't work on it for 2 or 3 weeks.
I like it.
It's the fuel pump. And we decided for a location for it. Haha. Whoa, that's too short. In case I haven't explained it, there is our fuel cell going into a filter that's acting like our strainer that then goes into our fuel pump, high pressure, then through these holes that we drilled along the length of the cab, which will be under the carpet. It goes to the adapter and the fuel filter here. Those clamps are tight, and I ran wiring here. So I've got a new relay right over there being fused by a 20 amp fuse here. Should be able to put gas in this thing and start it up. Yeah, it's a fuel system.
That's a fuel system.
I took a bracket from my scrap pile, and now I've cut it so that I can make a little hole right there for the Subaru throttle cable. All right, my first hole is still a little too small for the throttle cable to pop through, so I gotta make it a little bigger. Okay, here's one side of the throttle linkage so far, and it'll get painted and maybe adjusted some, but you know, when I pull this, we get throttle. There he is. And cut this cable, make some sort of bracket for it right here, attach it to that cable, and we should get throttle. But look at that. It's a welded up steering shaft. This is just a bracing that I'm going to use to hold up the steering column. This bracing will probably have to be gotten rid of as soon as the body of the car's on, so it really helps me though for like mocking things up so I can wire things and stuff. Coolant temperature 192. This one's warm, and this one's warm. The alternator is charging. This green light. Yep. All right, well, we will see you guys next time on the Sterling project. For all you guys that thought that it wasn't going to come back and that I just forgot about it, I know who you are.
Look at that suspension!
I don't know who you are, but I see you, and you should be liking and subscribing. Anyway, we'll see you guys soon on the next episode of the RAD Sterling project.
RAD Sterling project, go! Woo!